Hi, today I'm going to show you how to do bar chords. Bar chords are pretty easy to do on an electric guitar because the strings are nice and thin. The action, meaning how far the strings are from the neck, if your guitar is set up properly, your action is nice, the strings are close, and usually on electric guitars the necks are a little bit thinner, so it's easier for your hand to reach across and play. Traditionally, a full bar chord is done with your index finger. Right now I'm playing a major chord. This is an A major chord. I have my first finger across all 6 strings, and it's not that difficult to do once you develop the strength to do it. I think it helps if when your thumb is behind the neck of the guitar, like it is right here if you can see. My thumb is helping my first finger. It's pushing a little bit behind, so my first finger isn't doing all of the work. There's different bar chords. There's partial bar chords where you only play a couple strings, 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 or 5. It varies, and you can also use 2 fingers to do a bar chord. I like to call these double bar chords because I'm using my index finger and my third finger on a few strings here. But anyways, that's the definition of a bar chord, where you're playing 6 strings for a full bar on your guitar. So now I'm going to show you how to do this on an acoustic guitar, because acoustic guitars are a little more challenging to do this on, but then again, once you develop the strength, they're pretty easy to do. So I have my little Takamine guitar. I love this guitar for my hands because I have small hands, small fingers, and the size of the guitar is going to make a big difference with how you play bar chords. So, that being said, this is an F bar chord. Usually the first fret bar chords are usually the most difficult ones to do for beginners because the frets are further apart and you've really got to stretch those fingers. But if you hear, I have a nice clean sound on all 6 strings, no matter where I go. So those are bar chords on an acoustic guitar. The reason these are a little more challenging is because a few things. The strings are thicker. The action sometimes on this guitar, I love the action on this guitar, even though the sound isn't that great on this guitar, it's comfortable to play. So the action is low, and with this guitar, again with my hand, the neck is smaller, so I'm very comfortable doing this. But what I want to do is just show you, teach you how to do a bar chord to make it a little easier on your fingers as you're learning, because a lot of beginners get frustrated and they want to quit. They don't want to play bar chords because they already have their minds made up that they can't do this. It can be done, and I will show you how right now. So as a teacher, what I like to teach people is, up until the point of learning bar chords, probably, I know when I teach, I tell people to arch their fingers so that the skin from your finger is not touching other strings. You don't want this finger to lean in and touch this string. So normally I say arch your fingers, keep them straight up. But for a bar chord, we have to use this part of our finger now, the side of the bone right here. So what I like to teach is do 2 strings in the beginning. And you can see my finger is angled. It's not straight across like this. Sometimes people think their finger has to be straight across. No, it's going to angle because your fingers are going to naturally stretch to reach the other frets. So the first step for me, the way I teach, and I've been teaching for almost 24 years now, is to get a nice clean sound on those 2 strings. So yes, my finger is angled a little bit, but you can hear a nice clean sound. That's what you want to hear. The next thing, practice that for as long as it takes, whether it's a few days, whether it's a week, because you need strength to do that. You need to push down and get that nice clean sound. It's not going to happen overnight. The next thing is, once you've mastered 2 strings, and I'm going to teach just an F chord for now, just so you have a chord to learn. Then you would add the next finger, your second finger. Okay, I know I'm making this look really easy. Generally what happens is when the students add this next finger, this first finger lightens up and you get a sound something like that, and that's where the frustration comes in. So going back to getting the strength and the proper sound, you know, the distance, not the distance, the pressure you're pushing down to get a nice clean sound, and maintain that pressure. You've got to maintain this pressure with this finger when you add this finger. Once you can do that, whether it's a few days or a week or a couple weeks depending on you, then add another finger. Probably what's going to happen is when you add this third finger, the other fingers are going to lighten up. So this is a process. It's a process of developing the strength and then adding another finger. When you can do that, add this finger, the third finger over here, add the pinky. Now you're playing 5 strings with still, this is a partial bar chord because you're only playing 2 strings. Once you can get 5 strings, nice and clean, then we're going to drop our thumb behind the neck of the guitar so that this first, your index finger can reach across, and you're playing 6 strings with this one finger, okay? But notice, because you've got 3 fingers, or I've got 3 fingers on here, the first finger doesn't have to do all the work because you've got these 3 fingers right here for this particular form. So really the first finger is only pushing down on the 6th string and the first 2. So if you can do that with this chord, and like I said before, usually the F chord is the most challenging because of the distance from the frets, then you can move this up. You can move it all over the neck of the guitar. Okay, so if you can master this F chord form, it might be a good idea to actually begin learning this chord on the 5th fret or possibly even higher, because the frets get closer together so it's a little easier to play. So you might want to start on the 5th fret, which would be an A chord. So get used to pushing those 2 strings down so that you've got a nice clean sound. Whoops, sorry. Gradually add another finger until you can play all 6 strings. So this is a process, but if you do it in steps like that, you're developing the strength you need, then it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, now another thing you can do is put a capo on your guitar to make this also a little bit easier. When you put a capo on your guitar, your strings are getting closer to the neck of the guitar. So now you're not needing as much strength because the capo is pushing those strings down for you. So again, you can start that bar chord wherever you want to start it. So I'm going to start it now right here, which if this is on the 5th fret, this is the 7th fret. This technically is a B chord. So again, the action is nice and low. Start off with 2 strings, you get a nice clean sound. Add the next finger, add the next finger, move these so you can add your pinky in. Okay, so right now this bar chord is very physically easy to play because I've got the capo pushing down, making my action a little bit lower. So this is a little thing you can do if you are a beginner and you really want to learn how to play the bar chord, the F bar chord, movable form, put a capo on. Now, sadly, I had surgery on my fingers because I have been playing for over 40 years, and it got to the point where I had developed a big bone spur, and I physically couldn't do bar chords anymore. I was very upset about that, but luckily the surgery, the removal of the bone spur, enables me to do my bar chords again. So, the sad thing is I can't bend this finger. That's all I can bend it. Can you see? I don't know if you, where's, here. It's hard to see, but that's all I can bend it without doing therapy. So, arthritis is not a good thing, but as long as you don't have bone spurs, there's really no reason why you can't do this bar chord. So, this is a partial bar chord. I'm playing 3 strings, which is like, that's a really pretty chord. anyways, I hope you learned a little information on how to do a bar chord, how to make it easier to play, and don't get discouraged. Okay, so I thought that I would also show you how to do a bar chord on a guitar with a wide neck that may not be as comfortable for your hand depending on the size. But this is a classical guitar. They have wider necks. But what I do on a wider neck guitar, because again, I have short fingers, I drop my thumb down. So if you can see, I'm dropping it behind the neck of the guitar like such. So that way, when my thumb is dropped down, my finger will go across the neck like that. So a lot of people think, oh, I have little fingers, they won't reach that far. It won't. It's like, yes, they do. It's the positioning of your hand. That's all you have to do is drop your thumb down, and that way that first finger will look, my first finger is actually going beyond the neck of the guitar. So yes, it is very possible to do. So again, this is the chord that I showed you a little while ago. This is a major chord. To do a minor chord, we're going to let go of the second finger, but what I like to do, I've done this probably forever when I learned. I think it was just natural for my fingers to do this, but what I naturally did, I would put my second finger on top of the first one for extra help. So that way your first finger isn't doing all the work, if you can do that. So for this form, for this minor chord, that's something you can do to make it a little easier to play. So just, it's a nice little helper. I call that the helper finger when you're doing a minor bar chord form like this, or a minor seventh. So I hope I helped you.